see out into the crowd, but holy shit. I mean, let's everybody give yourselves a round of applause. Did you ever think, there must be 450 people here? We are maxed out on the balcony, we're maxed out down here. I don't even know what to say. I wrote something, and if you know me at all, and I've worked with lots of you here, I never write anything, and I was so nervous getting up here today. And I mean, I speak in front of people all the time. I'm so excited to see everybody here. I can't believe it. Everybody clap for each other again. I have done a lot of things in the last couple years where after I do them, I think, oh my God, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, could I ever have imagined I would be doing this? And this is one of those things. I mean, at the end of my speech, I was going to tell you how proud I am of everybody for being here. We have lots of you in this room, but I am going to tell you now, I am so proud and excited you all came to this event. This is the Oregon Growers Association launch event. We'd expected 150 people to show up, and we've quadrupled that number, and I absolutely can't believe it. I want to talk to you a little bit about the association, and then I want to get Tom Burns on the stage. The style, the format for this is going to be, I'm calling it 10-minute TED Talks. This is an opportunity to hear kind of from two different groups of people. You're going to hear from people about policy, and you're going to hear about practical skills. So we have Tom Burns and Jeff Sugarman. They're going to talk about Oregon Health Authority. They're going to talk about the legislature. You're going to hear from New Approach Oregon. Love it, hate it. However you feel about it, this is a good time to hear what it's about, how it's perceived, why they think you should vote for it. And you're going to hear from Dean Gusky, who is an accountant to hundreds of cannabis businesses. And you're going to hear from Lexi, and she does branding and marketing, and she's going to talk about how to brand and market your farm if you are so inclined to do so. So we've kind of broken it up, and this is an opportunity for you to learn what the Growers Association is going to be about. At the end of this, I'm going to make my pitch of why this is important, but I want to tell you how this got started, and I want a few people to stand up as we go along. I've been a lawyer for, gosh, almost 13 years now.
What's your name?
I'm Amy Margolis. And that's how you know I'm nervous. Usually I start off, I'm Amy Margolis. Yeah, I did. Good. Perfect. I'm already confused, see? And I've always represented people in the cannabis industry, but I've done it in a little bit different way as a criminal attorney. And over the last 3 or 4 years, those clients came to me and said, you know what? I have kids, I want to have a house, how do I become a legitimate business? And it sort of transformed my practice some, and so I've grown from one lawyer, there are 4 of us doing business and cannabis work. But in the last 2 years, those clients also said, I am a grower and I am being left behind. I have no voice. How do I get someone to hear me talk about what's important? And I listened, and those of you who know me know I also lobbied for 2007 and 2008 for not cannabis-related things. And I listened, and then Senate Bill 1531 happened. Who knows what Senate Bill 1531 is? Okay, lots of you. So that is the moratorium on dispensaries. And there was no real boots on the ground. That's not to take away from the people who that issue was important to, but no one was in the legislature. And so I went to all of those growers, at least the ones I worked with and knew, and I said, you've been complaining to me, you've been talking to me, now I need you to step up. And we formed the Growers Political Action Committee. And I don't know, I'm assuming most of you know what a political action committee is, but it's a group of people primarily focused around fundraising, to hire a lobbyist for growers, to have somebody that policymakers can consult, and to really give people in this room a voice. I mean, how many of you are cannabis growers? holy shit, right? Look at all of you. And you know what? Of everybody that I asked, everybody stood up. So I would like to introduce the founding members of the Political Action Committee. If you are on the PAC or involved in the PAC, please stand up. And you all should give them a round of applause because they threw down money and time. So from the PAC, we've had lots of you approach us, approach members of the PAC and say, I want to be involved somehow. And I believe that growers are the foundation of this industry. Without you all, this industry does not exist. You should not have been ignored for so long. So, 3 weeks ago, we started handing out flyers. And we put this event together, I don't know, 3.5 weeks. There's a team of people, Megan Wallstetter, Sarah Rubin, Jeremy, our intern, Tyson from Oregon's Finest, Kim Torella, even though she had kids issues and couldn't make some of the meetings in the morning, and everybody else who's in the PAC has spent tons of hours putting this together. And this is the purpose of the association. The purpose of the association is to be a low-cost buy-in to put on 2 types of programming on an extremely frequent basis to keep the Oregon cannabis growers community connected. So we are going to put, and I'm going to announce 2 events at the end before you all go have a social hour. The first is to have a way for you to access information. Because, I mean, that's been the hardest part. It's forums, it's Facebook, it's Instagram, it's rumors. Sometimes I spend a whole day talking to clients who come in with lists of stuff they've heard. So this is a way for you to get real information in real time, and we promise, I am promising you that we will stay up to date as best we can all the time with what's going on. We'll also give you access to attorneys and classes. I'm going to announce a tax lunch and learn, and those will also be extremely low cost events. Okay, that is my promise to you. The second is practical skills. That's been completely ignored. There are a lot of conferences, and those are really helpful. There are a lot of lawyers talking. I mean, I like to think I have important stuff to say, but you are all doing something. And you need to know how to do that better. You need to know about the newest technology. You need to know things that I can't even imagine to help you become better growers, to help you do a better job, just like any industry association. So I'm going to make my pitch to you at the end about why that's important. I hope you all join. I hope you find that it's a high value for a low amount of money. I'm super excited. And I've said it like 5 times now already. But I am super excited. So I'm going to introduce, we have Tom Burns, and I don't want to take up too much time. He has to leave in 20 minutes. And he's going to talk to you. There are no questions today. Okay? We're going to have a social hour afterwards. You can go and have face-to-face time. This is an opportunity for you to see and hear and listen, 1, to what the association has to offer, and 2, what all of these people who are either support systems for your industry or part of your industry, how they can help you in this. So I'd like to say this about Tom Burns, because Tom Burns needs no introduction. And maybe I shouldn't introduce him as friend of the growers, and I won't. But he's willing to come here and talk to you. And he's been willing to come and talk to lots of you under different circumstances. And we should feel lucky to have somebody who is so interested in learning what makes this industry tick in his position. So everybody, please welcome Tom Burns. Please give him your
Amy wasn't listening. Somebody says this was found in the bathroom. So if you have a phone, missing a phone, it's been beeping up here. I just want you to know it's up. Someone's going to come get it.
Yeah.
That's fine. I don't care whose it is, as long as it's not beeping up here. Well, thank you, Amy. I realized it was 12 months ago this month that I missed a meeting in the Oregon Health Authority where I do dispensary stuff. But in that world, it's the pharmacy dispensaries. And so there was a meeting about what to do with House Bill 3460, and somebody said, Burns, doesn't he do that already? Let him do it. And so 12 months ago, I started on a path that has been an absolute fascinating path for me. It has, I hope, been a path that those of you who run dispensaries have found productive and helpful, and a path that I think has produced a group of businesses that are operating legally in this state for the first time, that are trying to be productive members of the business community and productive partners in local governments as this whole debate is continuing. So, as I started down this path, I knew nothing, and I admit I knew nothing. The last time I probably was around marijuana was 50 years ago, which may tell you about how old I am. It was back in the days when marijuana wasn't what it is today. I've discovered that I thought that leaves and twigs and seeds were fairly common because they were in those days. I had no idea that you could actually get just a little bud and that the bud really was worth something and that then you could concentrate that. And anyway, it's a whole new world for me. But in the process, a couple things have come up. And since this is growers, I just wanted to talk about a grower problem. House Bill 3460 did not address growers. And Amy served on our Rules Advisory Committee, and every meeting she'd say, don't forget the growers. And every meeting I'd look at her and say, I don't have any authority over growers. I can't help you with growers. It doesn't work. And that has, in fact, proved to be a very real problem as we've been trying to build the dispensary program. And so the opportunity for you guys to come together as growers to bring forward a piece of legislation to govern yourself, I commend you for, and I encourage you to do that, and I think it's absolutely mandatory that you do that. You need to do that because right now you are not protected in any way, shape, or form. As you all know, you are simply an hour away or less of somebody showing up on your property and confiscating your product unless you play the game of stacking patient cards. And I've visited 3 or 4 growers now, and I'm always fascinated. The first thing they say is, here's my cards. I got 10 of them, so you're going to see that exact number of plants. And I see beautiful facilities that could do a lot more plants, but they can't because of the patient cards. So one of the things I think that absolutely has to occur is the grower-patient relationship has to change. I think there is a place for that relationship. If I want to only have somebody grow for me personally, and that's it, and it's a neighbor and something like that, that makes sense. But for commercial growers, growers who are going to be selling the volume of product, both into the medical side and into something that may happen after November, you can't continue to play the game. You've got to change that. But there's a price for that. And the price is that you're going to have to allow me or somebody else to regulate you. You can't do it the way you've been doing it. And I don't know what regulation is, and I don't want to try and tell you what regulation is. That's what you need to do when you work through this PAC and help Amy and Jeff pass a bill in Salem. But you do need to be a regulated process. The other thing you're going to, I think, have to do is be responsible for the testing. Again, it's a hole in 3460. But right now, the responsibility lies with the dispensaries. And that means you guys are at the realm, you're at the whim of a dispensary owner who wants to play a game with you. And they take your product in on consignment or some other arrangement, and they go, well, I can't pay you until I get it tested, and whether the test results you are not involved in, you don't know what the results are, you don't know, all of a sudden you're told, I've got 10 pounds of your product, come get it, it's at the back door. And that's not something that makes sense. So you, I think, need to be responsible for testing. I think you need to look and govern yourselves. There are 158, I think is the last number, dispensaries approved in this state. I will tell you that every day I've learned of 1 or 2 other dispensaries that are not licensed in this state. I think that's a tragedy. I think those people who will go unlicensed are jeopardizing the entire program, and those of you who want to see something in November, they're hurting your message. Going to happen to you as growers. You need to come out of the gray area and come into the full spotlight and sunshine of the public and accept the fact that there are going to be regulations, and accept the fact that people are going to come in and count your plants, and accept the fact that people are going to know what you're doing with the product. And if you can't do that, this industry isn't going to work. The other thing that I think is real important is you need to be good neighbors. I get it. It's a smelly plant. I have found that many of you who grow inside have managed to contain the odor entirely inside, and I applaud you for that. I have not yet had the opportunity to visit an outdoor grow. I will do that very soon. I am told that come about this time, or maybe a couple weeks from now, that is a real smelly operation, and your neighbors are not happy with you. I don't have the answer, but those of you who want to grow outdoors, you need to recognize that you are not living by yourselves, and you need to be good neighbors, and you need to figure out how to manage that. I don't know what the solution is. I'm just telling you that without that, we're going to continue to have problems. So with that, I apologize. I cannot stay. I have to actually go have a conversation about something that is occurring on November 1st with a certain agency that I don't talk to. But I do encourage you to bring forward your legislation. Work with me. For those of you who don't know, there is a mailbox at mmj.oregon.gov. I think it's medmj.dispensaries.oregon.state.u. Anyway, mmj.oregon.gov, there's an email. Every email that goes in there that is not specific to a specific dispensary, I read. Most of the answers that come back typed as MMD staff is me responding. I encourage you, start putting your grow questions up on that. I don't guarantee you that we have answers, but as I see what you are discussing and debating, it will help me, help Amy and Jeff shape the conversation in Salem, and we will get a better product out of it. So with that, I thank you for the opportunity. Amy, I don't know where you went, but I don't know who to hand this off to. So, oh, here comes somebody who I guess knows. Thank you, I appreciate it, and I apologize I can't stay.
Ooh, I'm not really used. Oh no, don't fall. I'm not used to the lights. This is interesting. Hi, fam. This is kind of crazy, huh? I'm a little nervous. My name is Alexa. I'm the co-founder of Canna Marketing and Design. My business partner, Jessica, she's in the corner. We are here to help you develop your brand and to be the awesome business owners that we know you can be. I'm very honored to be here. Like Amy said, if you had asked me 5 years ago if I was going to be speaking to a room of 400 people about marketing your cannabis business, especially since I think half the room is in my crew, I would be like, I'm scared. That's crazy. So, but here we are, and I'm going to try to make it quick. Like I said, I'm a little nervous. Today I'm going to talk to you about a fundamental marketing concept. And it is a crucial cornerstone to not just building your business, but building your brand. And it actually comes before building your brand. And it's called your unique selling proposition, or your USP. And it literally stands for what you propose to sell to your prospective customers that's different and unique from everybody sitting around you. So what makes you special? What makes you different from the 400 people sitting around you? And when you can identify that, especially in this very competitive market and this industry that's growing rapidly, you will be far ahead of the game. So let's back up for a second and talk about the history of the industry and why we're all here. So many people have been growers, for the sake of argument, I'm going to call you business owners, for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And for a long time, you needed two things to be successful, right? You needed an amazing product and a sphere of influence, or your custies, right? So great product and custies, and you're sailing, you're doing really well. So what's happened in the last 5 years? As more and more custies become business owners, aka growers, we have a market that's now flooded. And there's a lot of product, a lot of supply, less demand. So obviously the cost of your product has gone down, but the cost of doing business has gone up, right? So power bill's gone up, water bill's gone up, FERTs have gone up, price of product's gone down. Not awesome, So you got to get creative. And this is only going to become more of a thing as more and more people come out of the basement and off the farm and legitimize. So the unique selling proposition is the most important thing you can start with. And it really starts with your inner creativity. It starts with you. It starts with identifying your sphere of influence, what you're passionate about, who you want to serve. And it's a conversation that you can start to have whether you're ready to come out of the basement and legitimize or not, because it's a conversation that could take a little while. And when you start with your unique selling proposition and then build your brand off of that, you have the opportunity to target a market and create a message that's specific for that market. You can't be ambiguous. You can't target everyone. You can't go fishing for everything. You've got to know who you're speaking to. And once you know who you're speaking to, then you can develop your brand identity, your logo, your website, your business cards. A lot of people do it in the opposite. They do it backwards. They build their beautiful website, their gorgeous logo. They have no idea who they're talking to. And now they're lost in the crowd, right? So a couple examples of USPs. One great thing is to tell your story. Storytelling in the age of bombarding, advertisements and messaging is a great way to set yourself apart. The other thing is to create a lifestyle. You're not just selling a product. You're selling a lifestyle. And there's a couple examples that are really awesome. And one example here in Oregon is McMinimans. So I bet a ton of you were at the Edgefield last night for Beck. The Edgefield is a great example. McMiniman started with one brew pub in the 70s. They were beer guys. Now they own hotels and music venues, and they distill their own liquor. They brew their own beer. They're a lifestyle in Oregon. The Crystal Ballroom has all the original architecture and finishings. The Edgefield is a hotel with bars and mini golf and concerts. The Kennedy School is a hotel that used to be an elementary school. That's a story. There's a story there. That's very much an Oregon story. That's an Oregon niche. It's a lifestyle. Another great example that pertains to this industry is liquor and alcohol. Those commercials really aren't selling liquor. They're selling a lifestyle. I love vodka. If you gave me a blind taste test, I probably couldn't tell the difference between Grey Goose and Montepalooza. And there's a difference in price there. But I know that with Grey Goose, it's very much martini glass, it's fancy, it's high-end. With Smirnoff, it's what you get on the plane, it'll get you there, right? There's room for both. There's room for Veuve Clicquot, and there's room for cooks. There's room for craft breweries, and there's room for Coors Light. There's room for everyone, and it's about selling a lifestyle. Another great example is a health and wellness lifestyle. GT Dave's Kombucha, everybody knows about him. He recently had to rebrand and has a product that's for sale for people over 21. Again, he's not really selling kombucha, guys. He's selling a lifestyle. I drink kombucha because I think I'm a pretty healthy person and I need to counteract the vodka, right? So I want probiotics and, all these things. And GT Dave's is doing a great job with, first of all, not getting in trouble with the FDA, so that's labeling, and Amy Margolis will talk to you about that. Don't piss off the FDA, but you can still do things like, hey, my product has been found to help with migraines, or, this CBD oil is helping with seizures, or whatever, as long as, this has not been evaluated by the FDA, is on there somewhere. Again, creating a lifestyle. You're not just selling a product. You're selling somebody into a way of life, a way of thinking, a way of being. And always, always, always telling your story, because your story is what makes you unique. And your sphere of influence makes you unique. You might have connections in a completely different industry who have a reasonable level of fame in that different industry, who could be a spokesperson for your brand, who could get your brand into the hands of people in their lifestyle. So the next component of this unique selling proposition is, once you've done this soul searching and you found your uniqueness and your amazing voice and your creativity, then it actually flips and it stops being about you and it becomes all about your customer. You literally have to remove yourself from that equation. Once you have found your brand, you found your niche, and you found your story, you are all about your customer. Everything is tailored to their experience. Everything is in their voice. So they read your ad or hear your commercial and they get it. They're like, oh, this girl's speaking to me. This is my lifestyle. So you have to get out of your own way eventually. So you can say, okay, I got this. Now it's all about them. It's all about over-delivering value, delivering on that lifestyle promise, giving them what they want. Get out of your own way after you've done all the soul searching. So just in short, to wrap it up, I don't know how long I've been or how long I have, but unique selling proposition, okay? It is what you propose to sell to your potential customer that is unique and different from the 400 people standing around you in the room. And once you find that, then you develop your brand. Then you develop your brand identity, your logo, your website, your newsletter, your business cards, all of that. You really, really need to put the USP first because competition is stiff. Competition is already stiff, and this hasn't even gone fully legal. So what's going to happen when, it goes fully legal? There's not going to be that many custies. So you got to find them because a lot of people are going to become growers, and it's going to get harder. And once you
There's
develop
going to be
that
more
story,
customers once it goes fully legal.
hopefully, we don't know yet. There also could be a lot more growers.
And a lot more tourism.
We'll see. We'll see. So there's a niche. Who wants to get in the tourist trade? Great niche, right? So just be prepared that you need to set yourselves apart and tell your story and create a lifestyle. And when you do that, your customers will come to you because they want what you have versus you going to them begging for them to have what you have, to take what you have. So I just want to encourage everybody, start the process, stay excited regardless of what happens in November. It's important to really start this conversation now so you're ready. And with that, sure.
Ask a few questions. I know I said no questions, but because we're going to lose her soon. Although her partner Jess is here and she's right over there. She'll be socializing outside if you have any other questions you want to ask. So what do you think is the biggest image issue that people in Oregon face when they're marketing cannabis?
I think that's a twofold answer. I think one thing that we need to do is move away from the Cheech and Chong mentality. That kind of I'm super stoned and really dumb and yeah, it's cool man thing, because what's happening is the more the demographics that are coming out really are professional people. We have jobs, we own businesses. We're not, we might be stoned, but we're not stupid kind of thing. And also that speaks to moving away from the low-hanging fruit. The white guy, age 21 to 40, is a given. You guys are smoking weed. It's awesome. Keep smoking. You guys are a given. How are we going to start targeting the women and the moms, and especially on the medical side, the women whose children need these CBD oils, the women who may have Alzheimer's, the women who've never smoked weed ever, who, if you gave them a dab, they would probably die. They would be so freaked out. So moving away from the overly sexualized ads that have worked in the past is going to be really crucial. I love women too. We're gorgeous. But we have to move away from the fake tits with the pot leaves on them and move more towards getting your mom.
So from a practical perspective, when you have a new client come in, what is the first thing that you do with them to help them work towards creating that image and brand?
We have a major consultation with you. So not only does Jessica, who is the creative director for our company and, the everything behind the driving force of your brand, need to give you what's called a creative brief, where you sit down and you fill out a questionnaire about, what you want your brand to represent, the look and feel, your audience, your target message. But even before that, we have a consultation with you to talk about something like your unique selling proposition. What makes you special? What makes you different? How are we going to then turn that into the creative brief and turn that into your logo and your web design? So the branding is akin and aligned to the messaging. It's not disjointed, and that's something that people often do without realizing it, is they get this amazing brand identity, and then they go, shit, I have no idea who I am. And then you're like, oh, well, you got this gorgeous identity, you better figure it out.
So my last question, because I think that a lot of people here, I mean, we all use the internet and to shop and to buy things and to find where we want to go eat. And I know a lot of people here maybe are teetering on whether or not their farm should have a web presence or their farm should be out there where law enforcement can pull it up, although I encourage you to not be so afraid anymore. How important, this is my last question, how important do you think having a web presence is now? I know that answer may seem obvious, but I want everyone to hear it.
More important than ever, because even though we are coming out of the shadows and it is a little scary to have your name out there, the people that are already doing it, the people who, look, you guys are growers, you know risk-reward ratio. How have you been selling your product for 15 years? You know about this stuff. It's the same thing. Those who are willing to take the risk, which I think is diminishing, and have a web presence are going to benefit. The ratio of blowing up your business and doing better than ever is much higher when you take a little bit of risk. And in Portland, I mean, you can see the dispensaries that are doing this really, really well. They're the ones that aren't afraid to be interviewed by the news. They're the ones that aren't afraid to have their logo out, to do marketing campaigns, to set a specific budget for marketing and grow that budget as the bottom line grows. They're way ahead of the guys that are like, oh, I don't know, I'm going to sit on the sidelines and wait. And honestly, we wouldn't have 400 people in this room if everybody was still thinking about just sitting on the sidelines and waiting. It's a good group of you who are ready to sort of come out of the basement and start to have, your light shine, and that's awesome.
So everybody give Lexi a round of applause. So I'd like to introduce Dean Guskey. He is primarily located in Washington. He works down here as well. I asked him to speak because I think dealing with the tax issue must be on everybody in this room's mind. You all need a CPA. I'm going to say that right now. And that's just not a push for Dean, but that's like my one lawyer thing I'm going to say is that you all need an accountant. So he's going to talk to you about some of those issues. He's going to talk to you about some of those challenges. He's also just kind of a cool guy. He's going to stay around too and talk. So I'd like to introduce Dean. Everyone give him a round of applause.
Thanks, Amy, and thanks everybody from Emerge for having me here today. And I get to follow this, right, with the boring accounting stuff and the taxes and stuff everybody doesn't want to do, right? I've been practicing for about 30 years almost, and boy, it's gone by fast. And I've have clients in this industry well over 100, probably for the last about 4 years, and I kind of got started in an odd way. An existing client of mine came to me and referred one of his friends to me and said, I've got a friend of mine that has some tax issues. They weren't related to cannabis, and I said, oh, okay, I'll take care of it. He had some collection issues and stuff like that, so we got that straightened out. And then he said, I want to talk to you about my current business. And I said, what's that? He says, I grow marijuana. And I'm afraid, or cannabis. And I'm afraid of, going to jail. Because that's really, you guys know the story about Al Capone. He didn't go to jail for all his bad deeds. He went to jail for tax fraud, basically. So I just basically immersed myself in everything that I could find around tax issues. So I read all the cases, and how many people have heard of Section 280E here? A lot of you, right? And yeah, it is kind of bullshit. It is kind of bullshit. I actually read the initiative here, and it looks like you're going to get a break from the state of Oregon with respect to 280E. It's not going to apply to you for state purposes.
Let them know what that is.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. So Section 280E is a code section in the Internal Revenues Code, and it is a one paragraph, and it basically says if you have a trade or business that is trafficking in a controlled substance under Schedule 1 or Schedule 2, cannabis is a controlled substance under Schedule 1, you are not allowed to take any deductions whatsoever against your income. So when you first read it, you say, well, wait a minute, what do you mean I can't take any deductions? Well, the good news is that you can take what's called cost of goods sold. And cost of goods sold is the amount that it takes you to produce your product. So for growers, you're actually in a pretty good position because many of the expenditures that you incur are going to be deductible. And what we do, the Internal Revenue Code and the regs is about this thick. So we got one paragraph that talks to us about what we can't do. And we have this much that says what we can do. And so what we do is we use the rest of it to tell you what you can do. So what we're trying to do is, we call it a little jiu-jitsu move where we use the rules that the IRS already has in place regarding inventory to get as many expenditures as we possibly can into your cost of goods sold. And you're not getting hurt that badly. But what you have to do is you have to keep records. I can't help you if you don't keep records, okay? And people that aren't going to keep records are the ones that are going to be hurt the most, okay? Because if you get audited by the IRS and they look at your lifestyle and they say, well, where'd you get all this stuff on this $6,000 that you reported on your tax return? You know, they're going to wonder, right? So the important thing is keep records. Get a system set up. We'll help you do that. And use the law to your advantage. It's there for you as well. And so if you keep those records, we'll report all your income, report all your expenses, all the things that you are going to get to do. So we've been hearing a lot of things about, I've heard industry about 20 times already. This is an industry. So be squeaky clean and keep records just like anybody else does. The coffee shop, the dry cleaner, the real estate developer, they all have accountants and attorneys helping them. You need us helping you as well, because you're going to end up at the end of the day paying a heck of a lot less in taxes than you really think you are. Don't be afraid of it. You know, just come out and have us help you, and you're going to be surprised at the results. So we have strategies that we employ for growers, processors, retailers. They're all a little bit different. 280E kind of applies to them all a little bit differently just because of sort of the accounting methods that everybody uses. So, and I'll talk a little bit about our experience that we've had in Washington. It's been interesting to say the least, licensing wise. And I'm not sure what the licensing requirements are going to be here yet, if they've kind of figured that out, but one of the things in Washington is no out-of-state money, and I don't think they have that in the law here. And you've got to provide tax returns for the last couple of years. You've got to show that up there. You had to show that you had investment, appropriate amount of investment. And this kind of goes to the out-of-state money issue there. And then we have a tax system up there that taxes producers, processors, and retailers at 25%. Yeah, at each level. If you're a producer and a processor, you get to skip one of the levels of tax, but if you're a producer and a processor, you can't be a retailer. It doesn't seem there's not a prohibition against that here. This model seems a heck of a lot better. The tax here is, you guys probably already know, is $35 a pound, which translates to $35 an ounce, which translates to $5.60 a pound. Pretty steep. You know, still pretty steep, but I think it's probably a better model than what we've got. The excise tax in Washington is actually not deductible for federal purposes, which I've been modeling some retailers and whatnot, and their profit margin is going to be super small. So I think the other thing is you're going to have to really run this like a business and really have understanding of your costs, where they're going. You can't run your business out of a duffel bag anymore. And one of the other provisions that is in the law here is the Oregon Liquor Commission they can give you 72 hours notice, and they're going to examine your books. So start keeping them. Get going now. I was meeting with somebody this morning, he's in the audience here, and he's starting to get some information to me, and I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, just get started. Let's get going on this. So, now is the time, before even before, if your initiative passes, now's the time to kind of get cracking on this. So, for us, we end up doing a lot of back office for people, bookkeeping, all those sorts of things. And one of the big questions is, how should I structure my business? Should I be an LLC? Should I be an S corporation, a C corporation? All those things, what we do is work with your attorneys to kind of figure out what the best way for you to organize your business is. And there's no perfect answer. There's none, really. So there are little bit differences in taxes for some of these, from some of the different entity structures and things like that. So what you really need to do is, the main thing I want to say today is, get your records going now. You know, we can't help you if you don't have that kind of stuff. So, anything else? Usually when I'm speaking, it's not with rock star lights in front of me, that kind of stuff, and usually a little question and answer, maybe give us some.
It's really intimidating, by the way, to talk up here with these lights shining at you unless you are a rock star. So,
Obviously I'm not.
and obviously Dean is a rock star because he's working with cannabis industry people right now. So I know you just said that, and this is probably the area I most wish I could take questions on, but everyone here has a question. I know you said to get started now. I mean, what kind of words of comfort do you have for the people who have been working hard, doing this for 5, 10 years, 20 years, and who have, for lots of understandable reasons, not kept any books, and now they're ready to become part of this legal industry? What words of comfort, and they're going to have to prove where their money came from or provide their tax returns, what can you tell them to make them feel better about their situation, if anything?
I think what you have to do is, and I've been doing a lot of this in Washington, I've been doing a lot of prior year tax returns, and I think you just have to come out and file them. You know, even if you're worried about it, you've kept track of some stuff. You know how many pounds you've sold, you know how much you've made, you can estimate those costs. You know, get those to us, let's get returns filed, because what happens is, if you never file a return, a statute of limitation never starts. And so you might as well get the return filed, get it done, pay your taxes, be squeaky clean, and start sleeping at night. And take that worry away from you. And I've got a lot of people that we've done tax returns back to 2005, 2006. So it's, but just get it over with, and people walk away after they've done it and they feel pretty good. Don't worry about getting audited, okay? Don't worry about that. I don't think it's a red flag for you to say, oh, I haven't filed my returns for 3 or 4 years. Is this going to trigger an audit? The answer is no, probably not. And don't be worried about getting audited, particularly if you have good records. I'm not worried about it at all. My clients, I have a couple of audits going right now, and I'm representing them in front of the IRS. I did the tax returns. I'm not worried at all. I've got all the information that I need to defend you against 280E. Here it is. Here's our allocation. Here's all our work papers. Here's a list of all the things that I've asked my client to provide for me. You know, a blueprint of your grow, what, you know, all those sorts of things. What does your, you know, what are your employees doing? And we have all that records, and all we're arguing over then is the application of how the law works. Fine, come and audit me. I'm not worried about it in the least, and you shouldn't be either. And by the way, you'll never talk to the IRS because you'll just have me do it.
So, though there are some clients who are out in the audience, and they've all heard my speech about the 3 arms of law enforcement or compliance: the IRS, who we actually think about as law enforcement, police, feds, DEA, every prosecutors, and then Oregon Health Authority and maybe OLCC. I think a lot of people are probably concerned because they've been told that if they file their taxes, that DEA is coming in, law enforcement is coming in, that somehow it will trigger a criminal investigation if they file their taxes as a cannabis grower or dispensary owner. Can you talk to, not from a legal perspective, from maybe from an anecdotal perspective or a tax perspective, where the truth lies in that concern, if there is even any truth?
Well, that is a legal question. I'm not a lawyer. I'm giving you a hard time. The answer is when I'm filing a return for somebody, I'm not identifying you as a cannabis grower. That wouldn't be very smart, would it? I mean, you're going to be, I'm identifying you as agricultural other, retail other, processing or manufacturing other. So, other, yeah, it's a great word, isn't it? Yeah. So, what we do is we put all the appropriate information into your return, but we're not going to come out and say, the deductions that are not allowed, we don't say not allowed under 280E, we just say other non-deductible amounts. And so we're not on the face of your return, throwing you out there to the wolves for potential audit. So I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, I'm dealing in just the tax piece of it and making sure that you're complying with that law, so that you're not subjecting yourself to criminal penalties in that area. You got other worries that Amy and her firm can take care of, but this is covered and you're done, and you're not taking a risk of committing another crime, and it is a crime.
So my last question is, and part of this I'm just saying for everybody's benefit, but is how important is that to get started as this industry, I think, skyrockets, right? I mean, that's where this industry is going. How important is it to get ahead of this now instead of saying, I'm going to focus on starting my business, I'm going to focus on opening my doors? How important is getting your books in order ahead of time, or is that something that can wait?
Yeah, I would do it now, and not just because I want to do a bunch of tax returns right now, but I would do it now. I think one of the things that hurt medical in the state of Washington was this widespread belief and knowledge that people that were running dispensaries were not collecting sales tax, they weren't paying their taxes, and everybody else, that's in the community here sees that as unfair. Are we special? Do we not have to pay taxes and live in our community, all that sort of stuff? So I think it's very important. And I think you should get it going now. Why not? Be prepared, be squeaky clean, actually use it as a point of pride that, hey, I pay my taxes, I'm here in my community, I'm doing like every other legitimate business, because you are a legitimate business. And I think that's very important. I think it definitely hurt the medical community in the Seattle area in particular, because everyone was just saying, "Oh, I'm not going to collect or pay sales tax." Well, this brought a lot of attention on them, and it has the potential of destroying medical marijuana in the state of Washington. It really does. So be squeaky clean, get your stuff in order, and be able to say with a point of pride that you comply with all the laws. I mean, I think that's what makes sense. So.
Okay, so I'd like to introduce Dave Koplak and Anthony Johnson next, and then we're going to take a vote after they talk. If you all want a break to go get a drink, go outside. There are a lot of people here. See, I even still hesitate about saying stuff. You can discreetly medicate on the porch if you would like. Everybody should be really pleased about that. And then we'll take a vote after they talk if you all need a break or you guys want to just keep going through. And how I don't want everyone yelling it out. We're going to do a yay or nay, but not right now. So we have Dave Koplak and Anthony Johnson. I asked them to come talk about New Approach Oregon. And I know from talking to lots of you that there are a lot of questions, there are a lot of concerns, there are a lot of people who are definitely voting yes, and there are a lot of you who are worried about how this is going to impact you. And so I wanted to give them an opportunity to talk to you about some of the important points in connection with growers. I wanted to give them an opportunity to make their pitch to you. They've made their pitch to us, they've made their pitch to the PAC, and I think that it's really valuable. I mean, if there is any piece of legislation out there or any ballot initiative that's going to affect you all in extraordinary ways, it is this ballot measure. I would encourage you all, and not just because Dave, my law partner, was one of the primary drafters, go read it. I mean it. Go. You would not sign a contract you hadn't read, or maybe you would, but you shouldn't sign a contract you haven't read. You shouldn't vote for something you haven't read. You should understand it. I mean, this is directly going to impact you across the board, no matter what part you play in this industry. So Anthony Johnson, Dave Koblak, they're going to do sort of back and forth up here. They will be here afterwards to answer questions. I saw Ellen from the campaign here. She's here to answer questions. This is your time to have one-on-one time with people who are important and influential in this campaign, and ask those questions that you want to know the answer to when you're outside. So let's give a round of applause to Dave and Anthony.
Thank you. I'm Dave. This is Anthony. I think I'm going to talk first. I'll sit on the hot seat. So I'm not technically part of the campaign, but so I think what I want to do is talk about what we were thinking about when we were drafting this, or after ballot measure 80 failed in 2012, we saw an opportunity to legalize in 2014. I mean, Washington had just passed, Colorado had just passed. We learned the lessons from Measure 80, and we figured, what could we do? We had a blank piece of paper.
Louder.
Okay, sorry. We had a blank piece of paper, and we were told to try to start drafting a measure. So before we said anything, we sat around and thought about what were the themes, like what concepts, what's the philosophy of this measure? And I think, one of the obvious concepts was, and there's a bunch of political concerns, but I'm going to talk mostly about the business side of it. So we were thinking that we wanted to have participation. People have talked about coming out of the gray area, coming into the sunshine of the legal community. And so we wanted to make that as easy as possible. We wanted to encourage participation by the industry and by consumers. So how do you get everybody to play the game? How do you get people to participate in a system when a lot of people are maybe saying, hey, why change the system? And we just needed, and we looked at Colorado, we looked at Washington, we cherry-picked here and there, but we thought that we wanted to come up with our own system. So we basically tried to do as free market as possible with as low barriers to entry. And so, we took out the restrictions. We looked at Washington, for example, no vertical integration. You have to be a manufacturer cannot be a retailer. Why? I don't know. We said that's a silly. There's no reason for that. A vertical integration can be a really efficient way to run a business, and so we took that out. We looked at their tax model, and to me it was insanely high, and so we decided. We talked to tax folks. There was a couple different ways to go there. Very tricky issue, and we were advised that the most efficient way to tax. And keep in mind, an efficient way to tax lowers the price for the consumer, because at the end of the day, they're paying a lower tax. And if they're paying a lower tax, because the tax gets passed on to the consumer. So if you can provide a lower product, you're going to get more consumers to buy into the system, which of course gives you guys more customers. So that was the theme. So we said we were advised that the way to tax would be by weight, and rather than price. Because people can manipulate price, and a lot's going to be done. I'm a business lawyer. You tell me the tax is on a price, I'll figure out a way to draft a contract where the price is low, and you're going to avoid taxes. Weight is weight. You can quibble about some stuff, but weight is essentially weight. We were also advised to tax early in a distribution system. I know you guys aren't crazy about that, and no one likes to pay taxes, but politically there had to be an excise tax. There had to be. We could just say there was no excise tax. There's an excise tax for liquor, for cigarettes, for dried, perhaps.
Keep talking, man. We support you.
Okay, so basically, it was, the growers are there, we know where they are, it's by weight, it's a relatively low tax system, and it's the best way to go if you look at it from a policy perspective. It had to fall on somebody, I apologize, but we thought that was the best way to go. And at the end of the day, I think it is the most efficient system. And we've had independent people say that our tax structure is lower, anybody knows it's lower than Washington, but it's also lower than Colorado's. It's lower than Colorado's, and it'll be a net gain for everybody. And at the same time, even from a tax collection perspective, sitting here from the state's, Department of Revenue, from the OLCC's perspective, the more people that participate, the more taxes you get. If you have real thin participation, and you can have a high tax for people who are participating. Is that a long-term solution? No. So that was a theme. And then as far as the other business, I mentioned vertical integration. We didn't, other things we did not say in the statute. We didn't put any limit on the number of licenses people could get. You want to apply for 7 different licenses, you can do it. We didn't put a limit on any 1,000 feet rule. There's a 1,000 feet rule for schools, but like OMA has 1,000 feet between, we didn't say anything about that. Now, the OLCC might say something about that, and that's a reason to lobby, but we did not put any restriction like that. We didn't limit out-of-state investment. Some folks think that's maybe not good, some folks think that is good, but it fit in with our free market model. If you guys want to raise capital, if you want to have sustainable businesses, people can invest from out of state. So that was kind of the business aspect of it. The tax I talked about. The local moratorium opt-out issue, which of course is really big in OMA. So what we did here is luckily we stole from the Liquor Act, which was, after reading it, we thought it was a pretty good compromise. We want maximum participation, right? We don't want people to opt out, but at the same time, politically, I think people should be able to opt out. But do we want a city council of 3 or 4 probably old guys sitting there deciding in a representative government kind of way, we want to opt out? No, because they're going to be the most conservative things possible. So what we said was, you want to opt out, a city or a county can opt out, but you have to do it the way the liquor folks used to do it in the old days when we had dry counties. You have to have a ballot initiative, and the people have to vote on it. And if the people vote to opt out, they can opt out. But they're also not going to get a slice of the tax revenue. So I don't want to say we stacked the deck, but we tried to, it fit in with our maximum participation philosophy. So that's what we think is a good compromise. If a county's hell-bent on opting out, there's a way to do it. But we want the people to, and then of course there's an opportunity for a campaign, right? People in the community can say, hey, it's important enough for us to opt out of this thing and forego the tax revenue for some fear we have. And we hope that the industry will just, this will all just, as this becomes more mainstream every single day, and as the sky doesn't fall, we think that impetus to do that will hopefully just diminish. The other thing that we wanted to do is to make sure, along those same lines with the local jurisdictions, is to make sure that local jurisdictions couldn't add additional taxes on, or couldn't put any kind of crazy rules that would contradict what we did in the statute. So we wanted to have one uniform state statute with express preemption of local laws. Any inconsistent laws that exist now or that will exist in the future are repealed by this state statute. And I know that, I'm sorry. I know Portland's mayor convened a task force, and he was looking at the possibility of having a Portland city tax on marijuana. And I immediately said to myself, well, no, you're not going to do that. You're not going to be able to do that under the statute because it's prohibited. I mean, expressly prohibited. So if he wants to lobby the legislature to try to do that, he can do that. But that was the thing. We didn't want to have local jurisdictions sort of basically adding stuff on and making life more complicated. We wanted you all to live under one regulatory scheme, which is, of course, efficient business-wise. So those were the kind of philosophies behind the measure. It's not an easy thing to do to create something from scratch, and there's so many different ways to go. But we thought that participation, low barriers to entry, free market were the way to go.
Thank you very much for Dave. Dave put in a ton of work on the measure. He wrote it in a way to bring people into a regulated market. Amy and Lexi talked about having kids, having families, wanting to come out of the basement, come off the farm. Be proud of what you do because you have done a great service providing quality medicine for patients all across the state of Oregon. And the medical program has done a great job. And first and foremost, Measure 91 does not impact the Medical Marijuana Act at all. So if you want to what you're doing, you can continue to do that under the Medical Act. And my wife's a patient, my mother-in-law's a patient, my father's a patient. I believe in the medical marijuana program. I've been working to protect and improve the medical marijuana program, and after Measure 91 passes, I will be with you all working to protect the medical marijuana program as we move along. And it's very important that the medical program remains because patients need higher limits, or you need to be able to make your own products that aren't covered under the Measure 91. But Measure 91, what it does ultimately is end the arrest and prosecutions of thousands of cannabis consumers. Nearly 100,000 Oregonians have been arrested or cited for marijuana in the past decade. All right. Our opponents claim that it's just like a speeding ticket or a parking ticket. It just takes 10 minutes. But these have real consequences on people's lives. And it's people who are people of color and are disproportionately impacted, and people of low income are really impacted. A $650 ticket is a lot of money to somebody on fixed income. And not only that, you have educational, employment, housing opportunities. You've seen patients discriminated against for working at daycares now. So the only way to end that discrimination is to end treating marijuana use as a crime and end the stigma that is unnecessary and end the barbaric practice of putting people in cages for using cannabis. And we've seen both in Colorado and Washington, arrests and prosecutions for marijuana offenses have plummeted. Over 80% of arrests and prosecutions have dropped. In Colorado, it went from like 6,000 arrests and prosecutions to like 200. Same thing in Washington. And not just the ounce that's been legal. Those arrests and prosecutions are across the board because now there's a regulated market for people to move into if they choose to do that. And this measure will allow Oregon growers and providers to be the next McMinimums, to be the next Rogue, Terminal Gravity, pick your favorite microbrew. That is what this measure allows, if that's what you want to do. And it really allows Oregon growers to really capitalize on the American dream. And I really encourage you to support Measure 91. And if anybody has any questions about the measure, I encourage you to read it. Go to voteyeson91.com. You can email me at anthony@voteyeson91.com. I want to answer any and all questions and to address anybody's concerns about the measure. And it's important to continue to go to events like this. It's great that Oregon Growers Association are going to have more events. Other organizations have great educational events as well. The International Cannabis Business Conference is coming up. A lot of speakers here are speaking at that provide a great opportunity to both network, organize, and learn about what's going on here in Oregon, Washington, Colorado, California, all across the country. But most importantly, we got to make sure we win this election. So I encourage everyone here to read the measure. If you support it, you got to donate to the campaign. We have Sheriff's Association, District Attorneys Association, federal tax dollars being used to campaign against us and manipulate an Oregon election. So it's imperative for Oregon growers, Oregon providers to step up and donate to the campaign. $100, $200, $500, $20 if that's what you can do. But it's important to join in this campaign, and trust me, the Oregon Growers Association, the cannabis community, we're going to be in a much stronger position if Measure 91 passes than if it does not pass. And this election, we're in a great position to win. Polling shows we have a great opportunity to win. We poll over 50% for every single poll that is done. But off your election, it's important for you to buy in, spread the word, and let's stop treating cannabis use as a crime, and let's legalize and regulate cannabis for everybody. Thank you.
So I'm actually tempted to take just a couple questions on this, but I can't see everybody back there. So maybe we can do, since we have a little bit of time, maybe we could do a couple questions. Don't be offended if I cut you all off, but so up front.
I don't really have a question, but I do want to put my 2 cents worth in. And first I want to thank Anthony and Dave for doing a really great job of drafting this measure. My name is John Sajo. I've been trying to legalize marijuana for most of my life. I did my first marijuana legalization initiative in 1982. I spent my life studying how to do it, and there's a lot of details, and all I can say is, you know, this initiative is going to be the best marijuana law on earth. And if we pass it now, this year, it's going to be great times for us, prosperity for Oregon, and a wonderful thing. And if we let this opportunity slip by our fingers by losing by 1 or 2 points, we're all going to really regret it, because it's going to be hard to put another initiative together. Let me tell you, because I've done 5 marijuana initiatives. They're hard as shit to do. You know, we need to win this. We need to win it now, because if we don't win it, what we get will not be nearly as good. Yeah, it'll happen somewhere 4 or 5 years down the road, but I don't want to wait anymore. You know, when my son's teacher asks him, "What does your daddy do for a living?" I want him to be able to say, "He grows marijuana," and I'm proud. So Anthony's talking about how we have an opportunity to win this, and we do. You know, I've seen polls where it's at 51%. But that's scary. Like you said, it's a midterm election. A lot of people aren't going to vote. So we got to get everybody we know to vote. We got to turn the minds of people that think this is going to hurt their business, because that's a narrow, short-sighted view. This is going to help us, and it's going to help everybody else. So we need to win it now. And so I pledge $1,000 today for this campaign, and I'm going to try to raise $10,000 by the election. And I urge everyone in here to do the same thing, because we need to win this year. Let's make it happen. Thank you.
So, for those of you who don't know, and whoever's saying this is not a question, John Sajo has earned the right to stand up here and talk for as long as he wants to everybody. He has been your guys' friend for a long, long, long time, and if you don't know him, you should introduce yourself. He's effing awesome.
I'm going to turn John's speech into a question. Or, what happens if Measure 91 does not pass? There will not be another measure opportunity until 2016. The Oregon legislature will convene in 2015 and in 2016 before we have another opportunity. Do you think they're going to do something to head this off if this doesn't pass? Do you think they're going to think like we were thinking? Do you think that they're going to think of a free market, pro-business solution to this? So we sort of stuck our necks out there, and this is our opportunity. And so a no vote has consequences, and the consequences are going to be the legislature. And that's my answer to your question.
come up though, or you can say it and I can hear it. We'll take just like 2 or 3 questions, then we'll vote on a break. I see you back there.
Just want to thank everybody. It's wonderful to hear you speak. I've heard you speak in person before, and one thing I'm aware of as a long-term grower, there's a tremendous amount of blowback. The community's terrified the OMMP will be dissolved, the medical program goes away. It feels so clear. I've read the initiative, the language is clear, you've spoken to it, but I think there needs to be more effort devoted to that in this community, because I just see terror. It's really for the middle class being wiped out, when in fact I believe this really is the best way to preserve the middle class, and that ultimately this is going to be the greatest boon to all of the people that are smaller providers and that actually have a huge interest in being like a microbrew model. That's not possible in Washington. I was just up there. It's a disaster. This is not that. And I would love if you could speak to this community more about how that's going to be preserved and go forward.
That's a really good question.
Yeah, first and foremost, the language of the measure. Section 4 and Section 6 make it totally clear that the Medical Marijuana Act will not be impacted by this measure. Section 4 says this measure does not amend or affect in any way the Medical Marijuana Act. Section 6 tells the OLCC you do not make any rules about the medical marijuana program. That's the purview of the Oregon Health Authority. You deal with legal adult use over the age of 21. You do not touch the medical program. And the medical programs in Colorado and Washington still remain today. And the medical programs in those states do come under attack, but the medical program here in Oregon comes under attack every legislative session. We have to be organized and lobby. We're doing a better and better job of doing that, but helping Measure 91 pass is going to put growers, the medical community, in a much better position, because the growers here, you all are going to be the ones generating the revenue for the state. And generating the revenue for the state gives you real power at the legislature. And exercising that power is going to protect the medical marijuana program.
So this is a really good, and then I think maybe we should just all take a break as long as everyone thinks we can come back in an organized fashion. Right? So I want to say this is, what Anthony said is a good lesson for this group. Can you imagine if the legislature knew about this meeting and knew that maybe not everyone, but almost everyone in this room wanted to preserve the medical program, and they knew that each of you was financially committed, emotionally committed, that your businesses were committed, that your families were committed. I mean, your legislators are who listen to you. They're supposed to anyway. You're like their clients, right? You are who keep them in office. Your money and your support. So can you imagine if they were lined up here today and looked at this room? I mean, maybe it's not the biggest room for the Brewery Association, but it's the biggest gathering of growers ever. So this would be a fantastic issue for the PAC to deal with. It would be a fantastic issue for the association to have a committee around. We have a lot of opportunity. If this is important to you, the association can help communicate that with the people making decisions. So I think it's time to stop talking about it among each other and to start doing something about it right now, today, tomorrow. So I think there are a couple more people with questions. Maybe we will vote. Who wants to take a break? Yay. Say yay if you want to take a break. Who doesn't want to take a break? Okay. Wow. Okay. So everybody I'm going to not take more questions then so we can keep going. Everybody thank them for coming and talking. Find them, ask them questions. Okay. So I want to introduce Jeff Sugarman to everybody. So Jeff Sugarman is working with the PAC on a bill that we have drafted, that Peter Buckley. I need everyone to be quiet though. Thank you. He's working on a bill. He's been in the legislature a long time. He was instrumental in passing House Bill 3460, which is the dispensary bill. He's here to talk to you about the legislative process. He's here to talk to you about the growers bill, which will help keep the medical program intact and provide some additional protection to growers. So I'd like to introduce Jeff. If you don't know him, go introduce yourselves afterwards.
Thank you very much. I have a confession to make. I'm a marijuana grower. I'm not a very good one yet. This really is my rookie season. But even in this first year of growing, I have learned so much. And it makes me appreciate what good growers, what you growers, do every single day. In my life, nothing is more calming to me than working those plants until something goes wrong in the room and your lights go out for 24 hours. Nothing is more satisfying than a patient coming into the shop and saying, your medicine worked. I feel better. But I also understand much better that feeling of living on the edge, wondering if today is the day that some sheriff or some DEA agent is going to knock on your door. They bust. They don't knock. They bust. As we move towards legalization this November, it really is time for growers to come out of the closet or the basement or the barn. It's time for growers to take our rightful place alongside patients and dispensaries as truly the cornerstones of this movement. Because again, as others have said, without growers, we have no industry. So I applaud you all for the work that you have done and for showing up today to show your support for this Growers Association. So I want to talk a little bit today about the legislative process. The 2013 session in Oregon was truly one of the most remarkable sessions for marijuana reform in the entire country. We reduced sentences for possession of between 1 and 4 ounces. We got rid of the automatic licensure suspension. We added PTSD as a condition to the medical marijuana law. And we passed a bill to legalize, license, and regulate medical marijuana dispensaries. So, how did that happen? We had a core group of about 6 or 7 folks who were at the Capitol pretty much every single day during the session. Our team was very focused. We were very professional. We were united, and we spoke with one voice. And you're going to hear me say that again and again. It is so critical that we go into this legislative session speaking with one voice. We worked closely with the legislature that, frankly, for the first time, I think, in its history, really actually was on our side and was ready to help us end prohibition and was ready to make us move forward. We need to continue with the legislature that's going to help us continue moving in that direction. We were successful because we didn't bite off more than we could. Sometimes in the legislative process, less is really more. We succeeded because we worked closely with legislative leadership on both sides of the chambers, and we had good, strong relationships with a lot of legislators. Before almost every hearing on every one of those bills, especially the dispensary bill, the chairs of those committees called us in and asked us what we were planning to do for the hearing. And time again, they asked us to keep our testimony down, to not pack the rooms, to be moderate in our approach, because they believed we had support on that committee and the bill was going to pass and we were going to move the next step forward. And we agreed with them on that, and it really helped us as we went through the process. Even late in the session, when the District Attorneys Association came in with a couple of amendments, minor changes to the bill, we were able to quickly meet their needs and get them back to neutral on the bill. And in the hearing where we added those changes, only one person testified. No advocates, no patients, no lobbyists, one person, a district attorney from Malheur County, saying that he was in support of the amendments that we were doing. That's one of the big reasons why we had success in the legislature this year. And I tell you this not because that's the way it's going to happen next session, because every session has its own life. And we may need to pack hearing rooms, and we may need to have rallies, and we may need to have a huge presence down there. Only time will tell. But frankly, I hope that doesn't happen, because if that's the case, it means that we're probably in trouble down there. Contrast that success in 2013 with a short session in 2014, and it was remarkable. The big difference, we really weren't there. We didn't have the resources to have a team in place every day on the ground in Salem, and we paid the price. And that's not going to happen in 2015, thanks to your support.
Yeah!
You know, when I look around this room and see people like Amy and others who have been involved in the legislative process for many years, you really do have a good team of people who want to work with you and want to be your representatives down in Salem. But only if we can do one thing, and that is speak with a united voice. We're going to have disagreements over policy, you've heard some today, but if we can solve those disagreements behind our own closed doors and present a united front to the legislature, we will have much greater success in the 2015 legislative session. And that, to me, is one of the critical advantages and one of the critical reasons why you folks need to be a part of this Growers Association. It will help us tremendously down there. So what is your role in all of this? Surely some of you will be asked to come down and testify at the legislature or meet privately with your legislators. You should all be looking at donating to legislators in your areas that you support, and volunteering on their campaigns and helping them. Our PAC, our Political Action Committee, will be doing that work, targeting some of our dollars into very specific races where we have friends who are in danger of losing their seats. You may need to add your name to a letter to the editor or an op-ed in your local newspaper. But most important, your role is to engage with us in this new association, to give us feedback on the issues that we'll be dealing with in legislative session, whether it's canopy size or licensure requirements, or allowing growers the right to transport their product to their patients or to their dispensaries. Without you joining today, our job in Salem is going to be a whole lot tougher. Washington and Colorado both did something very wrong in their process. Rather than utilizing the talents of all of the small and medium-sized growers they had in their states, they threw the growers to the side. We need to do that differently here. We need to make all of you the cornerstone of not only the medical market, but the legal retail market as well. And I think we can do that. We need to take this quasi-underground industry and bring it out into the open if we are truly to have a successful industry, one that provides top quality product and one that provides a good legal living for you and your families. So we'll see the first draft of our bill in a few weeks, and we'll be spending the next couple of months working on that to make sure it's exactly right, and we'll be ready come January in the 2015 legislative session. But we need you with us. You know, this journey for me actually started back in 1998 when I was the director of the campaign to pass the original medical marijuana law. And to sit here in a room like this with all of these people who have been a part of this process since 1998 is really, truly exciting to me and a great honor to me to be able to represent the Oregon growers and the Oregon Grow Pack. So I thank you for that, and I look forward to November and moving forward.
So I'd like to ask, and I've heard the term cannabis exhaustion being applied to the next legislative session. What do you think we're going to need to play defense on the most aggressively?
That's a really good question. First, I think we should acknowledge that we do have some champions in the legislature. State Rep Peter Buckley from Ashland will be the one carrying both the comprehensive Oregon Health Authority bill and the bill that the Growers Association is going to put forward. I think the biggest challenge we're going to have is really melding, assuming that 91 passes, which I hope it does, melding those two programs together. While the medical marijuana program is going to stay separate, I think there are opportunities for dispensaries and for growers who are already working in the medical program to build a structure that allows you to get licensed on one side and easily transfer that license to the other side. I think that's going to be one of the more challenging pieces of the coming legislative session is how we work those two programs together.
I mean, I have lots of questions about this. Is there anybody who I can see who has a question? Go ahead. You say it, I'll repeat it.
How are we going to make that actually happen between the medical marijuana community and the commercial or whatever you want to say? How are we going to make us be able to provide for them, either tax-wise or a nonprofit like myself? How is that going to work?
So I think the question is, what is the strategic plan moving forward for keeping medical alongside recreational?
Yes.
And I can speak to that too, because I have a plan, but... There you go.
So what's going to happen when 91 passes in November, the legislature is definitely going to be looking at this issue as we move forward. I think our best strategy is to adopt a similar model to what they did in Colorado, where they gave medical marijuana dispensaries really first crack at going legal. We need to add another component to that, and that's to add in the growers who are already growing for the medical program to be the cornerstone of the growers for the legal program. I think that was clearly the biggest mistake in setting up Washington and Colorado from my perspective, is that they cast out small growers to decide, and we are going to do everything we possibly can this legislative session to keep small growers as an integral part of the system as it grows and expands.
And I have another suggestion, and we've just started talking about it. I mean, our medical card is much harder to get than Colorado's red card. We have fewer qualifying conditions. It is more expensive. So one way we could be proactive is to add qualifying conditions to that list. If there are more qualifying conditions that are appropriately assigned to the medical card here, there will be more people who are able to access medical dispensaries, more people that will be using medical grows. So I think we should consider how to add on and expand the medical program. We shouldn't be thinking about how to shrink it or get rid of it. We should be thinking about how do we grow it and expand it so we can help the biggest number of patients as recreational happens side by side to us. So I think that's something that we can consider, that we're just starting to talk about as we get towards the legislative session. So that's one way to say that. Okay, does anybody who I can see, I'm sorry, I just can't see back there, have any more questions for Jeff about this issue? So everyone should give Jeff a round of applause. He's been a champion. So I thought after the next two speakers talk, I'm going to talk briefly about my vision for this association and our vision for this association. I'm going to introduce two people to you now. I know you have gone to conferences and seminars and that you often will have people talking at you. So I'd like this to be a little bit different. And so we have two growers who are going to talk about the association with you. We have Megan and we have Casey. We have somebody from Southern Oregon talking who grows outdoor. Who here is an outdoor grower? Are you kidding? Woo! This has to be a unified voice. We can't have a Southern Oregon group and an indoor group and they're fighting against each other for airtime. That will confuse the issue and you will all lose, I promise. If that happens in the legislature, we will look like amateurs. We need to be united on this issue. I know it's different. I know that there are different issues and you can have people who advocate for both of those. It doesn't have to be one or the other. So we have two growers. They're going to talk to you about the association. They're going to talk to you about why they think it's important. I'd like to introduce them. Casey's from Southern Oregon. Megan is from here. They're awesome. You should talk to them too. So please give them a round of applause. They're brave enough to stand up here and talk to everybody.
Hi everybody. My name is Megan Wallstatter. I've been growing for 14 years. I'm a dispensary owner. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, and I puff herb every day. And I'm up here proud to say all of that in front of the press, in front of all of you, and I hope one day that you guys can do the same if you want to. So that's what I want to create for this. I want to create a world where we can have I support an Oregon Growers Association bumper sticker on the back of your car, and it means the same thing as I support my local PTA. There's no difference. I'm proud to be here, and I'm proud that all of you are here, and this is us. This is not happening because someone else is asking us to do it. We're here because it's time. This is now. This is our chance. I'd like to thank all of you for coming out and being in this room and being with each other, because I know it takes a lot for all of you to be here. And we should be proud of everyone that's in this room, because this is the largest gathering of growers ever in the state. That's huge. We have news cameras here. We have news reporters here. We have state and federal legislative people here. So this is huge. This is us. This is our movement. So what does that mean with the Oregon Growers Association? What are we doing? I have a dream that we can develop this into a true trade association, just like an association for welders, electricians, PTAs, teacher unions. How does that work? This is my vision. We'll see how it all pans out. But I'd love to see us develop something like the OSU Extension Program for cannabis growers. Let's get these things out. Let's have a master cannabis grower certification program. Let's get organic certification on these farms. Let's do all this, just like any other farm. If dairy farmers can do it and kale growers can do it, so can we. So this is our time. And just like everybody else has been saying, 2014, who knew that this was going to be the year? But it's here, and we have so much power in our hands right now, and that power is in this room. Everybody here has power and has a voice. So talk to all of us. We'll help you get those voices going and in part of the system. And if you don't feel comfortable being that voice yet, you don't have to. Some of us are willing to do that. Casey and I are here. There's people in the pack that are willing to do that. There's ways to get your needs and your messages out to the people that need to hear these things. As far as some of the membership benefits that will happen if you join our Growers Association, we want to be able to offer ongoing education opportunities, member-only networking and educational stuff, then also discounted prices at our future educational events, and then non-members will pay a different price. So you have that benefit. It'll be steeply reduced, I promise. Don't tell Amy. And then I would also love to just see us get legislative updates. Have you guys have a funnel to hear what's going on, Get personal updates from Jeff through a listserv or something like that. We don't have it all planned out. There's no blueprint for us to follow for creating this industry, so we need all of you to be able to give us your voice and your vision so that we can create this. This is a huge opportunity. This does not happen every day, and I hope that you guys feel the power and the electricity in this room as much as I do, and I hope that you choose to join our association. We'll be able to process memberships at the end of the event, and we'll also be able to do it online after today too. So you have some time to think about it, see what we're doing, learn more from the networking opportunity after we're done speaking. And feel free to contact me, come up to me, talk to me whenever. Everybody who knows me knows that I'm not afraid to talk, so utilize that. And I'm going to hand it over to Casey.
Thanks, Megan. Hey everybody, my name is Casey Branham. I live and grow in Southern Oregon. I've been growing cannabis for 16 years, and for the last 10 exclusively outdoors. Through my experiences growing both indoor and outdoor, I've developed a profound respect for this plant, what it truly has to offer, as I'm sure all of you do too. I'm thrilled to see this many of us come together from all over the state to be a part of our industry moving forward. We can grow in different mediums or use different modalities, but we are all growers, and together our voices are louder and clearer. When I was asked to be a part of the Oregon Growers Association, I was excited at the prospect of coming together with other professional growers on how to co-create a working, above-board cannabis industry that showcases the incredible product that is Oregon cannabis. For many of us, this isn't just a hobby. It's the way we support ourselves, our families, and our patients that need this medicine, and I'm very proud of that. I'm honored to stand here with all of you and create an organization that provides professional development opportunities for us. like as Megan said, basic and advanced education, information on new innovative technologies, networking with other growers, and a host of other services. We as growers are incredibly innovative, but have had to hide that for too long. Our time has come, and it is now. We all benefit from coming together and sharing our knowledge and experience. I feel it is the responsibility of this organization and of us to build something from the ground up that can not only compete with big business in the impending national market, but set the bar for what a responsible cannabis industry looks like. We may not get another chance like this ever, so I urge all of you to stand with me and be proud of your accomplishments and what you can bring to the future of Oregon's cannabis industry. Thanks.
In a perfect world, I would hear from every single one of you in this room why you came today. I think that Casey and Megan did a kind of amazing job summing up why this is important to them. I thought I might cry at this event. I teared up a little bit when they were talking because I feel so, I don't know, I said proud before. There's some other word out there that fits even better. This is your moment in time. I really, really mean it. You can, I know, cry, right? I wish I could. I'd be doing a different job if I could cry on demand. So I think that if you let this moment pass you by, if you let it pass you by in the legislature, my personal feeling is if you let it pass you by not voting for legalization, if you let it pass you by not participating, by not making your voice heard, everybody in this room loses. I want the next one of these to be twice as big. I want to have to rent out the Expo Center for us to have a general membership meeting. This is what I see for this group. And I see us breaking into committees. I see us having a legislative committee. I see us having a philanthropy committee. Why shouldn't we be giving back? Why shouldn't we be out volunteering? Why shouldn't we have sweatshirts and t-shirts on and go out into the community and be proud that we're in a position to give back to a community? We should have a committee that talks about sustainability. This is your moment, and I hope you all see it that way. And I promise, we promise, those of us who have helped get this started, and I can't possibly name everyone, our vision, I hope your vision, as different from each other as it might be, that you grow differently, you grow in a greenhouse, you grow inside, you grow outside, that you all are able to come together. I promise there is strength in numbers for this. And I promise on behalf of all of you in this room, I promise on behalf of the organizers of this event, that we will provide, in exchange for your participation in this, that we will provide ongoing support, ongoing classes, and that eventually this machine, the association, will run itself because it will be powered by you. And not just by me, and not just by the few people who helped plan this. It will be powered by you. I want to empower each and every one of you. I want to see you on the streets. I want to see you in the legislature. I want to see you at your city council meetings. I want to see you in classes learning how to make Oregon cannabis growing more green. I want to see you learning how to make safer medicine. I want to see you helping patients. But I need you all to want it too. And just the fact that you're here shows me that you want it. So I want you all to give yourselves one more round of applause for being here. And I want to tell you what we have coming up. In an effort to provide, like I said, sort of a breakdown in the policy and the practical skills, on September 19th, we have a tax lawyer who'd like to do a lunch and learn. For those of you who don't know what that means, although it should be totally obvious, is that you can sign up. It'll be $15. There'll be lunch, and you can sit down with Bernard Chamberlain, who's a tax lawyer, for an hour and a half, and have an interchange. What are the tax issues? How do you deal with cost of goods sold? You can sit and talk with him. This doesn't have to cost you $1 gazillion. You should have access to that information as part of the association. We are also going to have a general membership meeting where we can have as big a space as we need. I mean, imagine in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, we pulled this together. Imagine how big a general membership meeting could be. We will have a general membership meeting where we will outline what are the next steps, what does 6 months look like? You all could be the founders of this. Your voice could be what guides the creation of this association. Find me afterwards. So the tax, that's a practical issue. We will have, that's a lunch and learn. We'll have a general membership meeting. Please go to the website to check for new event times. And we had a commercial broker who was going to come talk earlier. He couldn't make it. We have agreed to do I know he would have been like the most popular person in the room. But we are going to do a whole class on how to approach and deal with commercial landlords. I know that's on everybody's mind. So check the website. Those are the 3 events I promise will be coming up in the next 60 days. If there's an event you would like to see, we've had grow store owners offer to sponsor events about new technology. So if there's something you want to see, you can make this what you want.
Industrial hemp.
Industrial hemp, I'm not talking about industrial hemp.
That's the
So,
same grow. I want to grow that too, and we should all communicate about what we do.
You should start a committee. So I think that, so what we have next, and it's almost perfect timing and the best moderated event ever, is that we're going to have lunch outside. I am asking, so we had planned for 150 people. Right? So there are not 150 people here. So I am asking that there's a little donation jar out there. If you want to put a couple bucks in it to go towards all of your lunch, that would be awesome. The Star Theater did us a solid, a real solid. They let us come over here last minute. They got us all set up. They'll be serving drinks at this bar. I think at this bar. They'll definitely be serving drinks outside. Go socialize. Go meet each other. Have you ever seen so many growers in one room? No. So I want to thank everybody for coming. Yay!
Thank you, Amy, for everything that you've done today.
And you can join the association. We'll have people roving around talking about the benefits. We'll have people roving around. You can join if you want. So find them, they'll find you. Thank you for coming.